Hello everyone, welcome back to our practice session. In this session, we will be looking at the list of high potential stock and we're going to pick up Asian Paints to review them on technical analysis. Let's quickly get started. To access the high potential stock, you have to hit the first task here. Once you get into it, you have to submit to get started here. And then it populates you the list of high potential stock as per EQSIS. So here I'm reviewing one after one, but now I'll be picking up Asian Paints to review them on technical analysis. So once you load the Asian Paints charts here, the very first question that how do you think that the mentioned stock performed in the recent days? So in the recent days, I see the stock is pretty much neutral. That's a kind of behavior that it is actually giving me. But from a larger time frame, I see there is a deep cut from 3,400 to 2,800. So it is quite evident that the stock witnessed a kind of negative move. But looking at the recent times, about last 2-3 months, I see the stock is behaving on a very neutral fashion. Okay. And now, how would you describe the trading volume in the recent session? So if you look at the trading volume in the recent session, so it's better you can take slightly more, and you see some sort of a noise created in this particular area. With a lot of attractions are actually available here. If you notice the kind of volume what we witnessed between May till 2024, but now you see the volume is slightly high. But considering the recent sessions, this is pretty flat. I don't see anything unusually high volumes. So I can say it is an usual average volume is what we see. It's not a low volume, but it is an usual average volume. Okay. How would you like to initiate your analysis based on Asian Paints? Okay, now, as I was keep telling you that if you really want to take a stance, that you have to take a bullish or a bearish view. If you take this picture from a longer term, so it is always a good practice that you see from the longer term picture. Okay, now the primary reason of why we keep this particular stock on the high potential stock list is because by considering last 2 years price behavior, we see a kind of consolidation is happening. Okay, and if you look at the bottom here, it is again taking the kind of peak here. So it is a solid consolidation after a decade long bullish behavior. A stock took about 1.5 years or close to 2 years of consolidation, which is very natural. Okay. But considering that consolidation, kind of convergence happening, we see a kind of triangle as well. Okay, and the stock did actually break the bottom. So we really want to see whether there is any bearish trade opportunities available. So on which we are looking, from this angle, that we are looking for a bearish trade from here, and to see whether it is tradable at this moment or not. So do you see any price pattern? Do you see any price? Do you see any of the below price pattern formations here? We do see a triangle here. So I mentioned a triangle at this moment. So since I've already marked the triangle, I'm skipping this particular step here. So do you see any candlestick patterns formed here? So let me zoom in to see if there is any candlestick patterns here. And it's very important that you see anything at this particular area. It is true that we witnessed a kind of a bullish piercing here. Okay, a bullish piercing here, and this is nothing much here. Okay, now probably this is an indication that we may be around a strong buying activities happening here. Okay, that could be the reason that the stock is actually witnessing a kind of consolidation in the whole phase. This may be because of the buying indications from this particular piercing. Okay, so I say it is but I don't see anything called any bullish patterns, any bearish pattern formed here. And we cannot call this as a bearish piercing because the upper tail was not fully covered here. And so I better say not sure, no specific observations here. Has a stock observed any significant gaps? Definitely there are few gaps are remarkable that gives us a lot of confidence to say. Number one, we witnessed a gap here. Okay, and if you witness the gap here, this is more like an area gap. Okay, so I'll point out this as an area gap. Okay, this is more like an area gap here, and so this is more like an area gap. Am I right? But an area gap having a high volume is quite suspicious, because in a common area where you see between buyers and sellers, this is between a common area, right? Because there is a supply force here and there is a demand force here, and a gap appeared on this particular area, are likely to be filled, or it should have a natural tendency of having a low volume. But surprisingly, that area gap had a high volume, and although there was an attempt given, it is unable to fill that particular gap. That shows the kind of strength or an early indication of bearishness, and that is followed by another gap here. And if you notice the another gap that we are following it up here, and this particular gap is more like a breakout gap, okay, because the stock moved out of the range, and it is also backed by a very high volume. So this is another indication that we can call it as a bearish strength. Okay, so I wish to call this as a breakout gap. Okay, so I see a couple of gaps here, and both actually vouching for the bearish momentum here. Okay, and even if you see the bearish gap, it is still unfilled at this moment. So until these two gaps are not filled, it's too early for anyone to take a call on the bullish side. So make sure that there is a gap here. There is a gap here, and it is trading near to unfilled gaps as well. Okay. Do you observe any of the following specific indication from RSI? Okay. Let's try and apply if there is any RSI factor is available. Okay. It's always good that you apply each and everything to see if there is any opportunities available. Yes, from RSI perspective, there is a kind of bullish divergence, because if you look at this momentum here, okay, and the RSI actually did perform a positive divergence. But considering this way, if you look at, okay, now considering this way, okay, ideally the RSI indication from here should be positively moving from here, but for some reason it actually backed down. So we still see this gap has a lot of potential to push the price lower. So that is the thought process now we have. So the stock is expected to sustain that particular weakness, because in spite of a positive indication from RSI with the positive divergence, but it failed to go above that. So it failed on the RSI front. So that shows that probably it can actually have or it can be an early indication for the downside. So we have a kind of we had a positive divergence, but I see the behavior of failing at RSI may witness a bearish stock. Okay, now have a look at that area, and kindly highlight the trending bearish stock here. So we look at this particular area as a reason to mark it out. So when sketching the trend lines or the channels, do you observe? Because already we said there is this is already broken on this particular area. So breaking the upward sloping trend line on the bearish side, and this is part of the triangle as well, that it is broken that area. And do you wish to apply any part of moving averages at this moment? Yes, we want to really apply the moving average here. So by applying moving average here, and I'll pick up 21-day moving average. So if I pick up a 21-day moving average, all I see is the stock is in the consolidation phase. It is yet to begin any of its bearish trending behavior. Okay, because the moving average is actually broken and ups and down. So if you really want to see the moving average, then probably you can make it as a much thicker note or the red color maybe. So now you see it is just breaking ups and down. So on this area, now when applying the short-term moving average, I don't see anything specifically from the moving average. So I hit there's not sure or observations here. So how do you wish to really plot for the stock? Okay, now looking at the longer term triangular negative breakdown, witnessing the gaps are still sustaining, and seeing that RSI has failed to keep up its momentum, we are actually looking the stock from a short position. Okay, but we can't actually short the stock right away at this moment. So what we really want to do here is we wish to place the short position well below this particular consolidation phase. Okay, and we are okay to keep even this as a stop loss between the gaps or slightly above the gap here. Okay, and accordingly I wish to adjust that for a 1:1 movement. So if you really want to, embark this, you need 1:1 here. So here is where probably we can look at this one. So this is stock probably we can consider from short. So an indication for a technical analysis, yeah. Okay, now definitely Asian Paint is one fantastic company from a fundamental aspect, but technically it is actually witnessing very long-term consolidation and posing negative breakdown. So from a short-term trading perspective, we definitely recommend people to have negative view or a slightly negative bias on this. So the triangle negative breakout, an unfilled gap, an RSI positive divergence being failed, those things are the primary factors on which that we consider some weakness in the particular area. So, and they are asking us to mark the clear targets and stop loss. That's been marked already, so I'm skipping this particular steps here. Okay. So what will be the tentative holding period? For how long that are we witnessing the weakness? So we are not actually witnessing the weakness for a year or a quarter, but we are expecting this maybe a month to quarter. A kind of the weakness is expected, but do remember that as long as the gap is open, we see that weakness is expected to continue. So it is, I can even say the weakness is expected from a month to quarter, so anywhere in between. So any of your choice, accordingly you plan your option strategies to pick up. Okay, but the entire game begins only when a price breaks this 2750 level. Now it is trading at 2861 around. So hope for a price to go further down to witness or confirm the weakness. Okay, and then we hold it from a quarterly basis here. So with this, we are done with the analysis. So we can go for the next one.